Gather around. It's time for the show to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, this is...
Hey everyone, my name is Jason.
Hi friends, it's Desiree Josen.
All right, there were so many matches this year that were just too much.
So this won't be a shocker because we've had a handful of really awesome matches that we just can't stop talking about.
How many times have these guys fought? Like it's been quite a bit.
I've been saying this all year. They're just so great to watch. We saw the heel turn coming, and then when it happened, nice and bloody, both dramatic and beautiful.
You are now entering the ring with Chutes and Ladders podcast.
Chutes and Ladders. Royal Rumble matches ranked greatest of all time. What's going on, everyone? My name is Jason.
Hey friends, it's Desiree Josen.
When we first started this podcast, this is actually an episode that I was looking forward to do back in June of 2024. I am absolutely excited. This is going to be one of the best shows we've had, at least fun-wise, for the both of us. What are your initial thoughts, Des?
Hey, I am on cloud nine right now just because this is my favorite pay-per-view, or PLE, is the Royal Rumble. There is just something about it when they just run out, and it's just so much fun, and you just don't know how it's going to turn, and it's the road to Mania. So I'm excited to see what's made your list. We've been talking, and I don't know. This will be a wild one.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to let the audience knows, again, we obviously haven't seen each other's list. We don't even have the same criteria. We didn't set a standard per se. My criteria, I wrote this down, is going to be based on personal connection, how it affected WrestleMania, and the surprise of the actual finish. I actually compared my list to Bleacher Report's greatest of all time and Sportskeeda and such. And my list is actually not necessarily compared to theirs. So I have a feeling the audience is going to scratch their heads a few times. Des, I think there's one in particular that your mouth is just going to drop and say, wait, what? But you know what? This is why we do this.
Okay, mine is just for selfish reasons. These are the ones that I personally love. I loved how it turned out. I loved the suspense of it. I loved the actual surprise pops of some people, reaction, and it was basically the ones that I actually go back and rewatch for fun. I watch a lot of old matches, just daily for fun, and so I basically just had to go and rank the ones that I just rewatch over and over. So I may disappoint a lot of people because it may not be a lot of newer matches. So be prepared.
Nothing wrong with that. Our audience is very broad. We have some people that like the old school better than the new school. Some people the reverse. Some people mixture of both. So We're actually going to start off with an honorable mention. Who is your honorable mention?
I have two. Now, one of them is really obvious, and that is just because I've said it before. It's because I went to this Rumble. This was 2024. So a fun part of the actual Royal Rumble itself, we got to see the debut of Braun Breaker, and we got to see Cody win. But it was just because I was sitting there right next to Roman and Cody and then staring down, who is Cody going to go after? So that personal experience that I got to share with my brothers, I thought that was really cool. My second one, now this one was really hard because I wanted to put it on my list, but I was like, I'll just put it as honorable mention. It was 1995 with Shawn Michaels when he wins his first one, and it was against him and British Bulldog. He throws him over the rope, and that 1 foot hits Bulldog. Davey Boy just keeps celebrating. Here comes Shawn, knocks him over, and the audience is like silent and confused. But my man won. So,
FYI, that was actually in Tampa. I think you were probably maybe a couple years old at the time, but I wish we could go back in time and go to that one. I do remember that one. I cheated as well. I put 2 for honorable mention. FYI, I cheat a couple times in this on this countdown, but. For the first one, you mentioned that you actually went to the event freshman year of Florida State. A kid next to me actually lived in Atlanta, right next door. Turned out to be a huge wrestling fan. We actually drove to Atlanta in 2002 for that Royal Rumble. The most notable moments of that, Mr. Perfect went all the way down number 3, which really surprised people. Maven eliminated The Undertaker, and I remember running out, and then they actually did a spot in the kind of like in the Fournier, so that was actually a lot of fun. So I got to see The Undertaker for a little bit. He cursed out a fan, that was funny. And then obviously Triple H won. They wanted, I think it was Triple H's to lose from the get-go. He was so over at the time. I remember he came back from an injury that he had to rehab from. But I actually went to that Royal Rumble, so that's why that was one of my honorable mentions.
Good.
FYI, one of the events you just mentioned is on my list, and we'll get to that when we get to that. The other honorable mention, this is going to be controversial for some people, but it was too good. It probably would have been way up on my list if it wasn't for the controversy attached to this particular person. But this is 2004 when Chris Benoit won. And it was impossible for me to not put this on this list. I was a huge Chris Benoit fan. Interesting about this one was that Chris Benoit was kind of a mid-carder. Him and Eddie Guerrero, and they all kind of defected at the same time, as well as, Rey Mysterio and stuff. But they made the bold declaration. He was the second number 1 entry to win the whole thing. Gave him push. Madison Square Garden, we all know what happened here, win the title. There's a lot of controversy to his legacy after that. I really would have put it higher up there, but I had to. It would have been impossible for me not to at least mention this. This is why I actually left it as an honorable mention.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was like, "Ooh, that's tempting." And no, that was a really good match.
It really was. Okay, countdown has begun. Number 5. Who you got?
I'm so stressed out about this, but okay. All right. I'm going to go with 1997 when Stone Cold wins, but it's the controversy behind it of, Stone Cold, he was like cleaning house that entire match. Like he would throw someone over the top rope and then just sit on the turnbuckle and just like tease the crowd. Like, come on, bring somebody out. And then finally Bret Hart comes out and they go at it. We even saw like the fake Diesel, who was Kane, and even Rocky Maivia. But at that time, Stone Cold gets eliminated, but the refs don't see it. And so he crawls back in. And then I think he gets Taker and Vader at the same time and then throws Bret over. And Bret just has a damn fit because, he just can't catch a break. I couldn't help but laugh. I'm like, damn, Bret, Montreal screw job, now this, and whatever. So, but I loved it, the excitement, and it's just Stone Cold just walking off with that smirk, knowing what he did.
So I'm actually going to mention that particular Rumble later on. We'll see where. But yeah, that was actually a good event overall. Obviously, your boy Shawn Michaels beat Sid for the title, so that was fun.
Yeah.
All right, I cheated for number 5, and I did it specifically because. All right, so I'll say what I picked first. I did 2024, which was the Royal Rumble that you went to. One, because you went to it, so that's awesome. But then also, I picked 2023. The reason why I did both is because essentially they kind of ran into each other. And what I mean by that is because Cody won both. Still to this day, I think him losing at WrestleMania 39 to Roman Reigns was an absolute waste. I think they kind of realized it was mistakes. They had him win the next year. They almost screwed that up, but they finally fixed their mistake and had him beat Roman Reigns. But that's why I actually chose both of them. And that's why I'm number 5, just because the moment that it's set up for WrestleMania and when he pinned Roman, I think there was such a sigh of relief and just a lot of emotion for wrestling fans collectively, whether you're old because you like Dusty Rhodes, or because you're a new fan because you love Cody. So I just thought that was such a cool moment. So it was because of the actual finish of WrestleMania, which is why I put them both on here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Number 4.
Hey, this is an oldie, but a goodie, but I watched this thing over and over. And when I think of Royal Rumble, I think of this specific one, and that is 1992. with Ric Flair coming in at number 3 and wins. But this one was special because this one wasn't going to be the golden ticket to Mania. This was for the actual World Championship, just because that was a vacant title at the time, because there was just that constant discrepancy with Hulk Hogan and Taker, and they just were like, forget it, whoever wins Rumble will get this title. So it has a lot of my favorites. So it has like Slaughter in there, like Jake the Snake. We even see Kerry Von Erich in there. But then, it comes down to like Sid and Hulk and Flair. And Sid gets Hulk raises hell and starts pulling on Sid. Flair just takes advantage of everything and just knocks him out. So there is just something about that one. It's so nostalgic. All of my favorite guys. Yeah. 1992.
Okay, fair enough. Actually, I think Bleacher Report lists that as number 1 overall.
Okay.
So you're not the only one. That's actually a really, really strong Rumble. Obviously, it was for the actual title, so that was actually kind of cool in its own right. I don't think they've had that since where the winner has won the title. I don't think so. And
I think they tried to do it back in like 2015, 16,
okay.
I think.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, with Triple H, I think. All right,
yeah.
But I think 92 pulled it off way better.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
My number 4, and I did this specifically because the finish of this match is really hard to pull off, and they did it close to perfect. 1994, with Bret Hart and Lex Luger being dual winners. For them to fall at the same time, that is not an easy thing to do. There are some people that said Bret actually, his feet touched first and Luger actually won. If you actually were to do replays, but they actually set the replays up so that you really couldn't tell. So I thought the finish was really hard to pull. These are two legends. And in addition to that, they set up WrestleMania 10, which is, in my opinion, one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. So the finish really got to me on that. And this is why I chose this as number 4. And I had to put it on my countdown.
Great choice.
All right. Who's your number 3?
Okay, this is purely nostalgic because the Attitude Era guys are my guys. It's going to be 2001. And that one, it was just because I love the card. It was Hardy Boys, Ron Simmons, Kane, Rock, like Taker, everybody was there. And even like in the first 10 guys, they were throwing in like tables and trash cans, and it was basically a hardcore match, and then it got cleaned up. But Stone Cold walks out, Triple H gets him before he goes in, and he's all bloody, and there's something about a bloody Stone Cold that I love. And he's looking at the Rock, and it ends up being Rock and Kane. And he takes out Rock and then beats the hell out of Kane, stuns him a couple of times, hits him with a chair, and then clotheslines him. And then, and that's Stone Cold's 3rd win. And he is the only one to hold that. And the crowd goes crazy for him.
Yeah, no. Listen, that's a great choice. Stone Cold's an absolute legend. That was the golden era of wrestling. So I definitely see why you put that on there.
Yeah.
All right. My number 3. You mentioned 1997. I'm going to fast forward 10 years after. Royal Rumble was in San Antonio. The last 2 participants were Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. It was in San Antonio. There was a feeling of, wait a minute, the hometown hero may win. At the last second, Undertaker eliminates him. I thought it was such a brilliant move because I could have seen why Shawn Michaels would have won. Undertaker got that win 10 years prior. Some people think that Undertaker was originally predicted. He should have won that Rumble. He didn't. They gave it to him 10 years later, which I thought was a really cool full circle close. In addition to that, he headlined WrestleMania 24, which I went to in Orlando. So that's part of the personal connection. Ric Flair's last match on that Mania as well. But that's the reason why I put it. I remember that finish being epic. That set up Shawn Michaels, Undertaker at future Manias. That actually set up, that basically set up their feud. So this is why I put 2007.
Oh, yeah. I love that one. I was contemplating, and, the entire time watching that one, I'm like, oh, Shawn, he's in his hometown. Like, it's 100% his. Mm-mm. So that kept us on on the edge of our seats the entire time.
Okay. Oh, wait to my next choice, by the way. But anyway, who's your number 2?
Number 2. I was going back and forth with my number 1 and number 2.
Same here.
I'm just gonna go with it. 1996. It's just because of Shawn. This is Shawn's second win, and this one I literally will go back and watch over and over. There is just something about it. It really is because of Shawn, and at the very end. But it comes down to, again, with British Bulldog and Diesel, and what is it? I think Diesel takes out Mustafa. And then Shawn, and then he turns around and Shawn hits Diesel with the Sweet Chin music, and everyone's like, oh my God, he hit his friend, and what's going on? And then Shawn wins, and then Diesel goes out pissed off and then comes back and raises his hand. I know what that means, but everyone's like, oh, he's gonna beat the hell out of him. And no, he just runs and high fives them, and they're two dudes with attitude, and there is just something about it. It just solidifies the clique and just their future and their friendship. And there's just something about it that I just get all giggly about. I love it.
Yeah, same here. Not to mention that set up the first Iron Man match in history. That was such a classic match. Kind of, again, going back to my choices of Cody winning back-to-back, and eventually Cody lost the first time Mania, won the second time. Hey, listen, they kind of ripped the page out of that Shawn Michaels playbook all those years before.
Yep.
All right. I was going back and forth on my number 2 and my number 1. I have a feeling your jaw's going to drop. You may even be upset about this one.
Oh, no.
Okay. So, there was a Royal Rumble in St. Louis. Everyone thought Randy Orton was going to win. I thought he was going to as well.
Yeah.
Stay with me. This might be actually a little bit different than what you think. He was in the Final 4. Mm-hmm. And then Chris Jericho eliminates Randy Orton. And I was actually at a casino because they played it at a bar. This was before they had it on Peacock. And everyone was just in shock by that. But what was more shocking, because at this point, everyone thought Jericho's going to win. Of course, he's headlined Mania before, or he's just a superstar. He's going to get a title shot, all good. And then Sheamus gives him a bro kick and eliminates him. Everybody was halfway cheering, halfway with their jaw dropped, because when I say that creative pulled a fast one on us, I never would have expected Sheamus to win. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I've always said this. One of the best things that wrestling fans love are surprises. To double down on that, as far as my personal connection, Sheamus fought Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 28 in Miami, which I attended, and that was the first match. The match was awful, but I would have never expected Sheamus to win, especially in St. Louis, especially with Orton in the Final 4. So that just took me by surprise.
What I think is so funny about this is, in my head, I was like, what if we did a least favorite Royal Rumble? And 100%, my immediate one was Sheamus winning. I hate that one, and for that reason solely. But you are right. It did shock the hell out of all of us. We did not see that coming. And, really? Sheamus? But, that is so funny.
Yeah.
Oh,
And that was the mania I went to. So that was another reason why. But hats off to creative. I'm telling you, if creative had Sami Zayn win this year, I will probably do a backflip. Because again, when you surprise the crowd like that, I think Money in the Bank and Royal Rumble should be for surprises.
Yeah, I agree. It keeps us on our toes. And when we get kind of cocky as fans to say, hey, it's a done deal, we figured out the map and bigger picture of where we're going, we think we can figure it out. But creative gets us sometimes. So hats off to them.
Absolutely. All right. Who is your number one?
Okay, well, this one was a tough one between my 1 and 2, but just because, again, I rewatched this one over and over. It's the pops, it's everything. It's a little bit of nostalgia. It is 2008. And I love that one just because it opens with Taker and Shawn Michaels.
Yes.
I love them too. And they just, they put on a good show, even if it's for a couple of minutes. And then Santino comes in and it just ruins it. And they just kick him out. I love Santino. Who else do we see? We see Batista, Punk, a young Cody, Miz. We even get to see the surprise appearances of Roddy Piper and Jimmy Snuka. And then Triple H comes in at 29. Thinks he's going to, wreak havoc, which he does. He does clean up. And then number 30 comes in, Mr. John Cena. The pop is one of the biggest pops. He's everyone's favorite. And it's a really good head-to-head battle between them two. It's not like an immediate, finisher and go. They go for a good 5 to 10 minutes. Against Batista too, and then Cena just power lifts Triple H and just throws him off. So I just felt like overall, from start to finish, because Taker and Shawn starts it, they get eliminated together. Those are my two guys. And then it ends with some fun, powerful guys like Triple H and Cena. The crowd loves it. It's such a fun show overall.
Okay, great choice. And yeah, I think the crowd popped when Cena came out because I think he was injured for so long and he came back. And hey, full circle, all these years later, some people are projecting him to win again, so that could come to fruition. All right, so my number one. So we talked about mid-carders finally getting catapulted. Well, 2004 was wrapped in controversy. 2 years later, I was at Florida State. I found out the Royal Rumble was coming to Miami. I had to go. I drove down that weekend. We actually ended up driving back that night, which was insane. One of my good friends who drank a bunch of energy drinks. Don't recommend doing that, but we did. But I did it because I had to go. And my guy, Rey Mysterio, at the time broke the record for lasting the longest in Royal Rumble history. Sadly, I know he eliminated Orton at the end, but him and Triple H finally made it to the end. He eliminated Orton. But that was such an emotional thing because of Eddie Guerrero, because he finally, a lot of people thought because of his size that he could never be a world champion. He did it. He got a shot. I just thought that was the coolest thing. And obviously I went to it. It was in Miami. So that was part of personal action. So that's why this countdown was really, really, really hard. At one point I had 07 as number one. At one point I had the Sheamus winning as number one. I went back and forth so many times. There were Royal Rumbles that I was going to put 92 on my list. I couldn't. This was so hard. I think just because we love this event so much. So
yeah, I even, when I first made my draft earlier this week, I was going to put Rey Mysterio on there just because of his size. And, he took out two really big guys. Even I was going to even say, well, he took out Randy, so that's okay. No, it was just huge. And, of course, he's always celebrating and honoring Eddie Guerrero. So that's always good to see. But same, when I tell you I was really frazzled and stressed out, it's because I love Rumble so much. There were so many of these that I had to not put on my list, and I really had to break down and go through even my YouTube search to be like, what do I look at the most? And then I rewatched them over the weekend and was like, okay, we're going to do this. And they will still they're gonna change throughout, I guess, time. But
yeah, we could do this next year and have an entirely different top 5.
I there's just something about Rumble. Ugh.
All right, I want to surprise you one more time. So if there is a least favorite that you have, go ahead and name it. Would it be 2012?
Yeah, it's gonna be Sheamus. It irritates me. Bless the creative team for what they did. They really did shock the hell out of us. But I have never been so angry. And even when I see that picture of him pointing, I'm like, get down. So.
Okay, I actually came up with least favorites. So for the second time in Chutes and Ladders history, I have 2. One was 97. Yeah, well, here's the deal. Here's the deal why. Obviously, like, the event overall was cool. If Undertaker would have won, it wouldn't be on this list. But Austin gets eliminated, and then he finds some weird loophole of no instant replay. And
they didn't see him.
But the angle they're trying to play is no instant replay. That didn't really, like, it's wrestling. Why would you? I don't know. It was weird because Austin wins, but then Undertaker ends up headlining WrestleMania anyway. So why not just have Undertaker win? So I did. So when Austin's given 3 Royal Rumbles, like, I'm just like 97. I don't know. I mean, yeah, he won, I guess, but it was just weird. So I didn't like that finish.
That's fair. Yeah.
What's that?
I said, that's fair. That's fair. I get it. That's why it feels very controversial.
Absolutely. Well, it's just funny because now for the second time in Chutes and Ladders history, we have one that we like, but that's not the other least favorite. Okay, I have another one that I actually really don't like. That was 2011. Alberto Del Rio? That's the way you feel about Sheamus is the way I felt about Del Rio winning. It was a 40-man Rumble.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's fine because it's so bad. It was a 40-man Rumble, and it was in Boston. So, yeah. Okay, hold on. So that being said, I know we might as well just roll into final thoughts. This is my final thoughts, and this happened a couple times in my list. They do not like hometown guys winning. Because
you know why? It's obvious.
Yeah, I think that has to be why. And obviously because, Shawn Michaels is number 2, didn't win. Orton twice in St. Louis.
St. Louis. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I'm like, they don't favor Randy there.
Yeah, and then John Cena, and he ended up winning it twice. He ended up winning it twice overall, but the one he didn't win was the one in his hometown. So Del Rio wins, and that was just not even a good match that he had against Edge. So yeah, nothing about that. So they really don't want hometown guys winning, which I just think is funny.
I think they want this reaction the way we do, so I guess it's working. But who knows? They may surprise us one time. And
And speaking of John Cena and speaking of potential surprises, I think that's going to be the theme of this Rumble. Are they going to go chalk and just have John Cena win, or will they surprise us?
No, don't do that.
Well, we will have a prediction episode, so we'll actually give you that prediction then. But in the meantime, give us your countdown. Please DM us at the Chutes and Ladders. Like always, please like, share, and subscribe both on YouTube and Spotify. Once again, my name is Jason.
This was so much fun, friends. I'm Desiree Jason.
All right, until next time, have a blessed day and a blessed week.
Bye, friends.
Chutes and Ladders. Follow us for more content.